Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamhansa Pariprajaka Ashto Tarasatashri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath. Sham Kund Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you, Mahesh Pandey Prabhu, for leading Kirtan. Welcome, everyone, to Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. Today is April 12th, 2023, and we're reading in the third canto, 16th chapter, the two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, cursed by the sages. Tonight we're starting with text number 1. We're happy to hear everyone's comments and questions, so please use the raise hand feature or unmute yourself and speak when Maharaj asks for questions, or you can type your comments into the chat window. Just please don't send any chat messages while Maharaj is reading something there because it makes it difficult to read. At the end of class, I'll post some helpful links that you can share with your friends so they can attend as well. And Maharaj, we're glad that you made it. You're still in Leicester?
Still in Leicester, yes.
Leicester. Sorry, I mispronounced it. All right, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Tulsi Priya, and thank you, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Brahmavacha iti tad grinatam tesham muninam yogadharminam pratinanja jagadedam vikunta nilayo vipuhu. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. So the Kumars had praised the Lord, and the Lord was pleased. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Etoto Parshado Mahyam Jayo Vijaya Evacha Kadarti Krityamam Yadvav Av Akratam Atikramam. The personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jai and Vijay by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. To commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord is a great wrong. Even when a living entity is promoted to Vaikuntha, there is still the chance that he may commit offenses. But the difference is that when one is in a Vaikuntha planet, even if by chance one commits an offense, he is protected by the Lord. This is the remarkable fact in the dealings of the Lord and the servitor, as seen in the present incident concerning Jai and Vijay. The word atikramam used herein indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. By mistake, the doorman held the sages from entering Vaikuntha Loka. But because they were engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, their annihilation was not expected by advanced devotees. The Lord's presence on the spot was very pleasing to the hearts of the devotees. The Lord understood that the trouble was due to his lotus feet not being seen by the sages, and therefore he wanted to please them by personally going there. The Lord is so merciful that even if there's some impediment for the devotee, he himself manages matters in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of having audience at his lotus feet. There's a very good example in the life of Haridas Thakur. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing at Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur, who happened to be Mohammedan by birth, was with him. In Hindu temples, especially in those days, no one but a Hindu was allowed to enter. Although Haridas Thakur was the greatest of all Hindus in his behavior, he considered himself a Mohammedan and did not enter the temple. Lord Chaitanya could understand his humility, and since he did not go to see the temple, Lord Chaitanya himself, who was non-different from Jagannath, used to come and sit with Haridas Thakur daily. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we also find this same behavior of the Lord. His devotees were prevented from seeing his lotus feet, but the Lord himself came to see them on the same lotus feet for which they aspired. It is also significant that he was accompanied by the goddess of fortune. Goddess of fortune is not to be seen by ordinary persons, but the Lord was so kind that although the devotees did not aspire for such an honor, he appeared before them with the goddess of fortune. Om Jnana Timidantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Rijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. There are quite a number of points here. The first is that the whole incident involved Vaishnava parades on both sides. The Jai and Vijay offended the Kumars by blocking their entrance to Vaikuntha. And the Kumars cursed Jai and Vijay. So both sides committed an offense. Both sides were also conscious of it. But they were, what's the word? The offenses didn't work the same way as offenses committed in the material world. The devotees in Vaikuntha are especially protected by the Lord. The word atikrama means, in one sense, overstepping. Krama is step. It indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. So atikrama is an offense. If we offend a devotee, then we're offending the Lord, whom the devotee represents. And also, if a devotee commits an offense, then he's, what should we say, committing, then as a representative of the Lord, he's committing an offense that reflects on the Lord. The devotee is supposed to be a Vishnu Jan, Hari Jan, God's man. So if God's man commits an offense, then that's not very good for God. So both things were there. The devotees were offended, and the offending was going on by the devotees. But this is not under the jurisdiction of the ordinary actions and reactions of the material world. By mistake, the doorkeepers kept the Kumars out, but because they were engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, their annihilation was not expected by advanced devotees. The Yogakshema Vahamya, the Lord, Konteya Pratijani Hi Name Bhakta Pranashati, the Lord gives special protection to the devotees, and the devotees are not expected to be ordinary objects of punishment, as in material affairs. The Lord personally understood that the problem arose because of his lotus feet were not seen, so he went there on those same lotus feet to give the opportunity for the devotees to see him, just as he'd gone to see Haridas Thakur every day as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, I see there's something in the chat box. Let's see what's happening here. Saraswati. Several questions. We're told the names of the doorkeepers, and everyone has their individual name in the spiritual world. So I wanted to ask if the spiritual name given at the time of initiation by the most glorious guru in the material world will be the same name of the spiritual body. For example, Bharat Maharaj was born again as Jad Bharat in his perfected stage, containing the name Bharat in both cases. As far as I know, the answer is no. We have the example in Srimad Bhagavatam that Gop Kumar had a different name when he reached Goloka Vrindavan and attained his final perfection. So the No, the name given at initiation is not taken to be one's eternal name from the spiritual world. Also, based on what factors or how does the guru decide upon the spiritual name of the disciple during initiation? Srila Prabhupada often went by, you can see, by the alphabet or by the person's previous name. So John might become Jagannath, or Mike might become Murari. But not always. Prabhupada sometimes departed from that pattern. Sometimes Prabhupada would just take the initiating existing name and change it slightly. There was a devotee, Hansadutta, his name was Hans Carey. So Prabhupada made him Hansadutta. He said, simply add Dutta. There was a devotee, Naveen Kurana. Prabhupada made him Naveen Krishna. So in this way, similarly, Gopal Krishna Khanna, Prabhupada made him Gopal Krishna Das. Now he's Gopal Krishna Goswami. So sometimes Prabhupada would accept the already existing name and simply add Das. During later times, Pradyumna would choose the names from various sources where there were names upon names. He would choose the name, and Prabhupada would accept it, although sometimes Prabhupada would change it also, give a different name. Third question, it is stated here that the Lord protects his devotees in the spiritual world. But we know he also protects devotees in the material world too. So is there a difference between the protection given in either world? And protection may differ according to the world, but the Lord's affection for the devotee is the same. Anything else? Yes, tretayor drito dando bhavadbhir mam anuvritaihi sa evanu matosma bhir muniyo deva helanat. O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them. So here, Deva Helanat can be taken two ways. They've offended you, or they've offended me. Deva means the supreme personality of Godhead. So either way, they've committed an offense, so I approve of your curse. Tadva prasada yam yadya brahmadaivam param hime tad dichyatma kritam manye yatsva pumbir asatkritaha. To me, the Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Purport. The Lord is always in favor of the Brahmins and the cows, and therefore it is said, Go Brahmana Hitayacha. Lord Krishna, or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. In the Vedic literature, in the Rig Mantra hymns of the Rig Veda, it is stated that those who are actually Brahmins always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Om Tad Vishnu Padamam Padam Sada Pashanti Surya. Those who are qualified Brahmins worship only the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means Krishna, Ram, and all Vishnu expansions. A so-called Brahmin who is born in the family of Brahmins but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as a Brahmin, because Brahmin means Vaishnava, and Vaishnava means Brahmin. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a Brahmin. The formula is Brahmajanatiti Brahmana. A Brahmin is one who has understood Brahma, and a Vaishnava is one who has understood the personality of Godhead. Brahman realization is the beginning of realization of the personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead also knows the impersonal feature of the Supreme, which is Brahma. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava is already a Brahmin. It should be noted that the glories of the Brahmana described in this chapter by the Lord himself refer to his devotee Brahmana, or the Vaishnava. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmins who are born in Brahmin families but have no Brahminical qualifications are referred to in this connection. The Lord would not be speaking to glorify the caste Brahmins who don't follow the Brahminical principles, but expect honor for being born in a Brahmin family. They'd probably call them skin dealers because they're thinking in terms of the material body, the skin. So the Lord here is honoring the Brahmana Vaishnavas. Brahmajanatiti Brahmana, one who knows Brahma, the absolute truth, is a Brahmana. And the Vaishnavas are those who serve the absolute truth in his ultimate personal form. So they're postgraduate Brahmanas. What is that? Brahmabhuta prasanatmana shochati nakamshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate pranam. When one comes to the spiritual platform, he becomes a Brahmana. But when the person on the spiritual platform advances further, he engages in devotional service to the Lord as a Vaishnava. So the Vaishnavas are the postgraduate Brahmins, or the best of the Brahmins, and therefore they're the ones glorified here. Again, the Lord himself takes responsibility for the offense committed by the doorkeepers. Here we find the mild and gentle behavior of the Lord. We find the same thing the same sort of behavior when Bhrigu Muni tests the three presiding deities of the material world, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, to determine who among them is actually supreme. And when he tests Lord Vishnu, he does so by kicking Lord Vishnu in the chest, and the Lord gets up and asks forgiveness from Bhrigu Muni for not having noticed when the sage entered, not having honored him, and for also having such a hard chest that the Brahmin must have hurt his foot. So Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma had responded with signs of anger, but Lord Vishnu was so mild and gentle and apologetic that Bhrigu reported back to the sages who'd deputed him that, yes, here's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. So the Lord, he has this among his qualities mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. One of them is that he's a pleasing speaker. He's a pleasing speaker. It's mentioned, I think the example given is that he said to the Kaliya Nag, well, don't mind, I had to do this, it was my duty. So in this way, the Lord spoke with gentle words, taking responsibility for the offense committed. Anything else? Yannamani Chakranati Loko Britye Kritagasi So Sadhuvadas Tat Kirtim Anti Twacham Mivamayaha. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. Report. A Vaishnava, therefore, should be fully qualified. As stated in the Bhagavatam, anyone who has become a Vaishnava has developed all the good qualities of the demigods. There are 26 qualifications mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The devotee should always see that his Vaishnava qualities increase with the advancement of his Krishna consciousness. A devotee should be blameless, because any offense by the devotee is a scar on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee's duty is to be always conscious in his dealings with others, especially with another devotee of the Lord. Just think there for a moment. Yes, if a devotee acts in an untoward fashion, it reflects badly on the master. We see that in Kali Yuga, religion has such a bad name, and often it's because of the misbehavior of religious leaders who don't follow the principles of their own religion and sometimes behave more abominably than ordinary non-religious people. So that's natural when the Lord's representative or supposed representative acts so badly. Then how does it reflect on the Lord? or on the religious institution that's supposed to represent the Lord, or in our context, on the spiritual master. If the disciple acts like a rascal, it doesn't look very good for the spiritual master. So we should be conscious of these things and should act in such a way that we serve as fitting representatives of Krishna, the spiritual master, the society of devotees. All the good qualities should develop in a devotee. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarvaya gunays tatra samasate sudha. We're told not to try to develop these qualities independently, but here it's nicely expressed. A devotee should always see that his Vaishnava qualities increase with the advancement of his Krishna consciousness. So the two go together, and we should try to develop these qualities not independently, but in the context of service to the Lord. Any offense is counted. The example given, a spot of white leprosy on any part of the skin pollutes the whole body. If a person has signs of leprosy, and no one says, oh yeah, but on his ankles he doesn't have leprosy, or here or there, when there's some prominently visible sign of leprosy, and people say, oh, he's a leper, he has leprosy. So in this way, it was taken seriously, not that, oh, it's a small thing. The devotee should be, what, nirdosha hi samam brahma, tasmad brahmanite stata. In the Bhagavad Gita it said that the Param Brahma is nirdosha, free from faults, and similarly the devotee should be free from faults. Okay, Tulsi Priya.
Thank you, Maharaj. Please accept my obeisances. My question has to do with offenses. Suppose you offend a devotee, or let's say you don't know if you've offended a devotee. They've just maybe you said something and they were offended and they've written you off, and you never knew that you offended them, but they're offended. And how does that, because I'm thinking, with Maharaj Ambarish and Durvas Muni, Vishnu said he could not forgive Durvas Muni. He had to be forgiven by the offended devotee. Or you offend a devotee and they leave their body and you can't make amends to them. Or you offend a devotee and if you try to patch things up, it'll only make things worse because they don't like you or whatever. So in all these cases, it's sort of like you've made an offense or you're not sure if you've made an offense, but there's no way to really get forgiveness, but you want to get forgiveness or you want to apologize. So what happens then?
There's some specific reference about that, and I'm just going on sort of a general remembrance of what's taught, but if someone has that specific reference in mind, then please feel free to step forward and fill us in. But in general, of course, we know that if we offend a devotee, we should try to we should regret that first of all, and then try, because that's mentioned earlier, I think, in our readings from a day or so back, that having committed a mistake, a devotee regrets that, and his heart becomes purified by virtue of remorse. Otherwise, the apology becomes superficial, we just offer an official apology, but we really don't mean it because we think we haven't done anything wrong. So you hear language like, if you feel I may have done anything that might have offended you, which means I really don't think I offended you, but somehow or other, if you're so, if you're such a grudge bearer that you feel that I did something that might have offended you, then officially I apologize. That doesn't go very far. But one should recognize one's own shortcomings. One should recognize when we've created some unhappiness or ill fame or whatever for a devotee. And we should regret that and sincerely apologize to the offended devotee. In the event where the devotee is no longer present on the planet, or we don't know who it was, we know we offended someone, but we don't know whom, or the person can no longer be found, or some other such situation where getting forgiveness may not be possible. As I recall, the advice is that one should chant the holy name sincerely in a humble mood, on and on. And yeah, that's what I recall.
Thank you.
And again, if so, there is specific advice about that in Shastra. I just don't recall the place.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Mhm.
I'm not even 100% sure about what an offense is. In my own mind, I understand it to be if you've hurt someone's feelings. In other words, maybe you might insult somebody, yeah, that's an offense, but if they don't take offense, then it's not. Anyways, my question is that, let's say in the court, you see devotees in the course of doing their service.
Take offense.
I'm sorry?
Even if a person doesn't take offense, it may still be an offense. That's generally, that's often the case, that the devotee may feel not offended, but the Lord notices that he's offended my devotee. That's specifically mentioned in Bhagavatam, in Prabhupada's purports at least, that it's not enough, well, the devotee didn't take offense, so it's not an offense. No. Carry on.
Let's say that if you are in the course of doing a service, like you may have arguments with somebody, over how things should be done or a point of philosophy or whatever. And sometimes, people speak strongly to each other. Is that really an offense, or is that people contending with each other? Like Prabhupada asked for forgiveness from his godbrothers because he would say things, and I don't even know why he was asking for, why he apologized, but he said sometimes he spoke strongly. So that was in the course of doing his service. And, you see that sometimes people speak strongly to each other. And is that an offense, or is that just,
We should be careful that while carrying out our prescribed duties, we should try to be inoffensive. For some people, this is easier than others according to their acquired nature. Some people, they speak so sweetly that you just feel obliged to them, and you feel they never could possibly offend you or anyone else. And other people are so rough or crude in their dealings, or uncultured, or what's insensitive, that they naturally tend to rub people the wrong way, to get under your skin, to do something that to use harsh speech, or to act in such a way that it causes unhappiness or pain or ill fame to a devotee. And sometimes they don't even realize it, because that's described later in the third canto. There's devotional service influenced by different modes of nature. And the one who's practicing devotional service but still influenced by passion and ignorance may be likely to offend. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shato Naiskritiko Lashaha Karta Tamas Uchate. One of the qualities of a person acting in the mode of ignorance is that he's expert in insulting others. It becomes almost baseline that in Kali Yuga and in a materialistic or uncivilized environment, it's almost routine to insult. So if there's an opportunity, then we'll insult someone. We don't need to. There's no benefit, but it's just one's nature. The way a drunk person stumbles, a person in the mode of ignorance just naturally insults others when he doesn't need to. Doesn't need to. He could speak sweetly. Prabhupada gave the example. It's not insulting us, insulting a Vaishnava individually, but when the chief of police, I believe, in Bombay, wrote that the chanting was a nuisance, Prabhupada didn't forgive him. He didn't forgive him. Prabhupada said that even if he could have written something to the effect that the neighbors found it objectionable or something more cultured, but instead he had the audacity really to say that the chanting of the holy name of God was a nuisance. And Prabhupada just laid into him for that. As a member of a civilized society, or as a responsible person in what's supposed to be a civilized society, he should have taken into account that this is chanting of the holy name of God. And he could have, all right, he has some duty to respond to complaints, but just to take it as a chanting of the holy name as a nuisance, Prabhupada was furious with him. And you can imagine the position of the police chief thinking, why is the Swami so irate? That's called crudeness. In the mode of ignorance, one is crude, one is so covered by the material energy that one doesn't realize how crude one is. One doesn't realize how covered one is. One doesn't realize, like, dirty, and that dirtiness is also a sign of ignorance. So the person who's dirty doesn't see that he's dirty. Ed Prabhupada gave the example of the Americans, they'll eat something, and then to clean their hands, they'll wipe their hands on their jeans. So for a cultured person, that's like shocking. But for an uncultured person, what's the problem? So the uncultured person, or insensitive person, or person unduly affected by the lower modes of nature, just habitually insults others. speaks crudely to others, speaks roughly to others. And a cultured person, Bhakti Charamarj comes to mind, how, gentle of speech he was. Sometimes he could be strong, but in principle, he was so gentle in speaking with people, because that's the quality of a Vaishnava. He's a perfect gentleman. And so sometimes the recruits from the materialistic civilization may not be perfect gentlemen, but they should try.
Thank you.
Tulsi Priya says, insulting someone's religion or deity is like insulting one's mother or child. It goes right into the heart like a sword. And you can think about that too also, that in really low-class speech, people use epithets for one another that insult their mothers, insult their family, insult them. And it's just like what one writer called Army Creole. It's just like a dialect where every third word is a curse word. Every third word is an insult. So that's the quality of the lower modes of nature, that we just go on like that. But a cultured person is sensitive and gentle. And Lord Vishnu himself is the ideal example how what a gentle position he's taking in speaking with the Kumaras. Then Saraswati has a comment. There's been a rise in honorable killing of female family members as the male members of the family feel the daughter or sister brought dishonor to the family, and they're all impacted in this ill fame. And despite there being a different standard of behavior expected for the sons who can get away with lax behavior. Can you comment on this honor killing of daughters? Well, it brings us a little far afield. Thou shalt not kill daughters any more than sons. I don't know of any shastric justification for killing daughters as a means of preserving family honor. Such things are in the mode of passion and ignorance. In Manu Samhita, women aren't blamed for the things they do wrong. It's taken like children. You don't kill children for being roguish. So if women misbehave, they're to be forgiven. And of course, women may consider that patronizing, but still, there you have it. Okay, anything else? Let's see where we are here. Well, the next verse in purport, fairly long. Not so long, perhaps. Yasyamritam alayasha shravana vagaha sadhya punati jagad ashva pachad vikuntaha soham bhavabhya valabdha sutir takirtis chindyam svabham bahum apiva vertikula vritim. Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. Well, this is an important verse, and perhaps I won't embark on the purport with only a few minutes to go. But immediately we can see how elsewhere, ho bata sopachog to gariyan yajivagre artate namatubhyam, how glorious is a person who has the holy name on his tongue. And here, even even if one has the holy name in one's ear, one is considered glorious. The holy name, the glories of the Lord, such a person is glorious. Yes, even if he's a dog eater, Chandala, he becomes glorious if hearing the holy name of the Lord. And on the other side, even so-called Brahmins who are averse to the personality of Godhead are considered demonic or degraded. All right, so why don't we stop here and we can pick up here Friday. And do we have a volunteer for Kirtan?
I asked for one person, but I don't think he's watching the chat box. So maybe Krishna Konteya Prabhu? Or anybody else who wants?
Yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajaka Ashtottara Satashi Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Amitapati Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Ahimsaka Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kuniki Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navdev Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Haribol.
Thank you, Krishna Kantiya Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shraddha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Madhupati. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. Please share those class links in the chat box with your friends. And we look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow for Chaitanya Charitamrita with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Haribol.
Haridas Prabhu Ki Jai.